Have you ever had someone take up permanent residence in your mind? No matter how much time passes, no matter how far life pulls you away, they're still there, popping into your thoughts when you least expect it, drifting into your dreams without warning, like a ghost that refuses to be laid to rest. It's not always someone you talk to. It might be someone from the past long gone, yet impossibly present. Why does this happen? Is it just a trick of memory, a cosmic coincidence? Or is there something deeper happening beneath the surface? Carl Jung, one of the most influential minds in psychology, spent his life unraveling the mysteries of the human soul. He believed that these mental hauntings are never just about the other person. They're messages, clues, echoes from your own unconscious mind trying to get your attention. When a person refuses to leave your thoughts, it's not always love. It's not always longing. Sometimes it's a mirror. To understand this, we need to journey into the part of our psyche that operates silently behind the scenes, the unconscious. This is where all your unspoken fears, hidden desires, and buried memories live. And according to Jung, what we ignore doesn't disappear, it just grows stronger in the dark. Sometimes that energy takes the shape of another person, someone who represents something within you that has not yet been resolved. Ever been inexplicably drawn to someone without logic, without reason, or found yourself obsessing over someone you know shouldn't matter anymore? That's not random, it's symbolic. It's your psyche projecting something important onto them, something you haven't fully processed. Jung called this the anima, and animus the hidden feminine within the man, the hidden masculine within the woman. These inner figures shape how we relate, who we're drawn to, who captivates us beyond all rational thought. So when someone is stuck in your head, it might be because they carry the essence of something your inner self is craving. Freedom, passion, vulnerability, strength. They might represent a trait you've suppressed, or a wound you haven't dared to heal. And then there's the shadow. Jung believed we all have one, a part of us we hide from the world, sometimes even from ourselves. It's made of everything we've rejected, denied, or been taught to fear. Now imagine this. What if the person you can stop thinking about is actually tied to your shadow self? What if they embody something you haven't yet accepted in yourself? A part of you that's aching to be acknowledged. These thoughts don't just happen. They're not meaningless. Often the people who consume our mental space are the ones who reveal the most about our hidden inner world. Jung also spoke of the collective unconscious, a vast shared layer of the human mind, filled with ancient patterns, symbols, and stories passed down through generations. So what if this person isn't just a personal connection, but a symbolic archetype? A manifestation of something timeless, a theme of love, loss, fate, or awakening that your psyche is trying to reconcile? The truth is, the mind doesn't fixate without reason. And when someone haunts your thoughts like a shadow, it's often because they're tied to a deeper truth you haven't yet fully seen. So how do we decode these signs? How do we quiet the noise and listen to what our unconscious is really saying, is trying to be seen? And once you bring that part into the light, you begin to break free from emotional attachments that once felt uncontrollable, like they had a will of their own. In this next part of the journey, we're diving deeper into the hidden architecture of the mind. Why do some people fade like background noise, while others echo through your thoughts for months, even years? It's not random. There's a reason certain people cling to your awareness, and understanding why can turn emotional confusion into one of your most powerful tools for growth. Because here's the truth, once you know why someone is always on your mind, you are no longer a prisoner of it. You start to reclaim your energy, your power. The human mind doesn't drift aimlessly. It runs on patterns, loops, neural pathways that are built and reinforced every time you feel something deeply, especially when emotions are involved. Neuroscience tells us that emotional memories are like supercharged blueprints. They don't just pass through your mind, they etch themselves in. And the more you think about someone, the more those pathways are reinforced, making it easier for their memory to resurface again and again. But what powers this cycle? Jung believed that our attachments are almost never just about the other person. They're reflections, projections of what's going on inside of us. Let's talk about projection. It's a psychological process where we unconsciously assign our own emotions, fears, or desires onto another person. Have you ever noticed how some people make you feel exposed, insecure, euphoric, longing? Chances are, it's not really about them. It's about what they mirror back to you. Maybe the person you can't stop thinking about rejected you, and that rejection didn't just hurt, it ripped open an old wound. A fear of being left, as belief that you're not enough. And now your mind keeps circling back to them, not because they were your destiny, but because your subconscious is saying, "This pain is familiar, you've felt it before, let's resolve it now." Or maybe the person is emotionally unavailable, hot and cold, distant, hard to reach, and yet you're drawn to them like gravity. Why? Because that dynamic might feel strangely familiar. A reenactment of something from childhood, or a relationship where love felt just out of reach. Jung taught that the unconscious seeks wholeness, and to achieve that, it often pulls us into repeating old patterns until we finally recognize them, until we heal the wound instead of reliving it. But here's where it gets even more mysterious. Jung also introduced a concept called synchronicity, the idea that not all events are random, that sometimes people enter our lives in ways so perfectly timed, so impossibly coincidental, that it feels like the universe itself is nudging us. Have you ever had someone on your mind only to see their name, hear a song that reminds you of them, or even get a message from them right after dreaming about them? That's synchronicity. It suggests that the people who haunt our minds might not just be random individuals, they could be messengers, symbols, reflections of something the world or your soul is trying to show you. But whether it's old trauma, emotional projection, or cosmic coincidence, the real question becomes, what do you do with it? How do you stop spinning in circles inside your own head? The first step is awareness. When you can observe your thoughts without being ruled by them, you weaken their grip. Ask yourself, what does this person really represent to me? What emotions do they stir up? What story am I unconsciously repeating? And then comes the second step, integration. Jung believed that true transformation happens when we integrate what was once unconscious, when we bring our shadow into the light. So if someone is always on your mind, maybe, just maybe, it's not about letting them go. It's about discovering the part of yourself that they've awakened. An unhealed wound, an ignored desire, an unresolved fear. All of them quietly asking, sometimes screaming, to be seen. So instead of resisting these recurring thoughts, lean into them, explore them, write about them, reflect on them without judgment. Let them guide you inward, like breadcrumbs leading back to your core self. Because here's where it gets transformative. The final and most powerful step in this process is detachment. But not the kind of detachment that comes from denial or suppression. Not forcing yourself to forget, not pushing someone out of your head with brute force. That's not freedom, that's resistance. True detachment comes from understanding. When you realize your thoughts are messages, not commands, you stop identifying with them. You see them for what they are, symbols, signposts, signals. You are not your thoughts. And when you decode what they're trying to say, you don't have to force yourself to let go, you simply no longer need to hold on. But there's one more truth. Maybe the most important revelation of all. One insight that can change everything you thought you knew about emotional attachments and mental loops. And that's exactly what we're about to explore next. If you've ever found yourself caught in that mental spiral, constantly thinking about someone, unable to shake them from your mind, you know how draining it can be. How they show up at random moments, interrupting your peace, triggering emotions that seem to appear out of nowhere. But here's the truth that flips the entire script. These thoughts are not happening to you, they're happening for you. They are messages from your unconscious, your psyche's way of grabbing your attention and saying, there's something here you need to see. Jung believed that every persistent emotion, every looping thought, every unresolved memory is meaningful. Nothing in your inner world is random. So when someone lives in your thoughts, it's not because they hold magical power over you. It's because they've become a symbol, a representation of something inside you that remains incomplete. And once you discover what that something is, you begin to reclaim your mind. But first, we need to understand a key concept: emotional loops. Your brain craves closure. It's wired to resolve tension. And when an emotional experience is left open-ended, A breakup with no explanation, a friendship that vanished, a love that never got to bloom. Your mind goes into overdrive, circling back again and again, looking for resolution. That's why the people who linger in your thoughts aren't always the ones you loved the most. Often they're the ones with whom something remained unfinished. No goodbye, no clarity. Just emotional fragments left dangling in your memory. Your unconscious keeps revisiting them not because you need them, but because you need closure. Jung called this process individuation, the path of integrating your inner world, making peace with every part of yourself, known and unknown. And until you uncover what that person represents, your mind will keep bringing them back. Not because they're your destiny, but because there's a missing piece inside of you that's still trying to be understood. So how do you finally break free? Step 1. Recognize that your obsession is not about them, it's about what they symbolize. Ask deeper questions. Do they represent freedom, safety, love you didn't believe you deserved, or perhaps a fear you've never faced? Step 2. Give yourself closure, not from them, from within. We often believe that peace comes from the other person, an apology, an explanation, a reunion, but Jung's teachings reveal something far more liberating. Closure is an inside job. It's a psychological act, a symbolic release. Write them a letter you'll never send. Have the conversation in your imagination. Light a candle. Close a chapter. Your unconscious understands ritual, symbolism, and intention, and it will follow your lead. Step 3, the most powerful of all, shift your focus inward. You've been pouring energy into a ghost, someone who may not even be thinking about you, so take that energy back. Use it to explore who you are, what you need, and what you are meant to become. Because in the end, this isn't about holding on or letting go. It's about becoming whole. Ask yourself not just why you think of them so often, but what that fixation is trying to tell you about yourself. What is your unconscious gently or perhaps urgently trying to teach you? Carl Jung often spoke of the self, the highest, most complete version of who we are, not the mask we wear, not the roles we play, but the whole integrated being that lies beneath the surface. And every unresolved attachment, every lingering thought is an invitation, a quiet calling to return to that self. Because when you stop obsessing over the external, over the person, the memory, the what-ifs, and begin turning your gaze inward, something extraordinary happens. The thoughts lose their grip, the obsession softens, and that person who once felt like a gravitational pull becomes just a symbol, a messenger. And once you've heard the message, the symbol no longer needs to appear. But before we end this journey, there's one final truth, perhaps the most transformative of all. A truth that, once understood, can change the way you see your mind, your heart, and every person who's ever haunted your thoughts, and it is this: it was never really about them. It was always about you. Jung believed that every fixation, every attachment, every person we can't seem to forget is not some cosmic accident. They are projections, reflections of something within us that we have not yet fully acknowledged, fully healed, or fully embraced. They seem powerful because they carry a piece of you, a part you haven't yet learned how to hold on your own. This is where Jung's concept of wholeness comes into play. He taught that psychological growth isn't about cutting parts off, it's about bringing all of you back together. The people who occupy your mind, they are mirrors. Some reflect your wounds, some reflect your longings, some reflect your potential. So ask, what does this person reflect back to me? Do they symbolize the love, safety, or validation you're still seeking within yourself? Do they embody qualities like boldness, creativity, or passion that you've been too afraid to claim? Or do they awaken the old fears, the forgotten memories, the buried insecurities you've spent years avoiding? Once you see the pattern, you break its power. Because the truth is, no one controls your thoughts but you. And the more you shift your focus inward, toward your own healing, your own growth, your own unfolding, the less power anyone outside of you will have. But here's the most powerful realization of all. What you've been chasing in someone else has always lived inside of you. Jung believed that what we admire in others are often the qualities we haven't yet owned in ourselves. So if you're drawn to their confidence, maybe it's your own confidence waiting to be awakened. If you're fixated on their love, maybe it's time to give that love back to yourself. And the moment you do, the obsession begins to dissolve, not because you forced it, but because you've outgrown it. The energy that once fed the fixation now fuels your transformation. This is how freedom begins. The thoughts quiet down, the loops lose their rhythm, and the person who once seemed unforgettable becomes exactly what they were meant to be, all along a lesson that led you back to you. So the question is no longer, why is this person always on my mind? The real question is, what is my mind trying to show me? Answer that, and you won't need to let go because you'll already be free. Thank you for listening.